Okay, I'm going to get things started. So welcome to the SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2 release webinar. Before we get started, I'll take care of a little housekeeping. If there's something you'd like to go back and see again, or you'd like to share this webinar with someone who couldn't attend, the slides and recording will be posted on our website. I should also let you know that all attendees have been automatically muted, if you didn't hear that nice robot lady. And we're going to keep it this way for the entire webinar. But of course, we still want to be able to communicate with you. If you have any questions, you can use the question pane. You can locate this at the top right by clicking on the speech bubble with the question mark. You can see it in this screenshot underlined in green. The question pane is distinct from the chat pane, which has two layered speech bubbles. We will not be using the chat pane during this call, so be sure to use the question pane only. We'll be answering some questions through text throughout the webinar, but we won't pause the presentation to answer. However, near the end of the webinar, we will hold a live Q&A session. We'll choose some of the more common questions to answer live, so keep them coming throughout the call so we know what is most relevant to you. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, I should mention that the DLC is a nonprofit organization with a mission to reduce energy, carbon, and light pollution. We do this by delivering the right information, doing the right information to the decision makers. And one of the main ways we do this is by creating technical requirements that underpin our qualified product lists, which support the majority of incentive programs across North America. We're going to be passing the mic around as we move between topics. So here are the faces you'll be seeing. Everyone. And here is the agenda for today's call. We know that not all topics will be relevant to each person, so we're providing some approximate times so you can be sure to tune in at the right time. We wanted this webinar to help you navigate the document, so the agenda items represent the main topic headings of the technical requirements document. Today, we're going over what's new in SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2 since SSL version 5.1 and LUNA version 1. But first, we're going to take some time to help you understand the value of this update, how we engage with the industry, and how that feedback helps shape the final result. After that, we'll get through, after all that, we'll be hosting a live Q&A session. And as I said before, we are free to ask those questions in the question pane as you think of them. We'll record all the questions and make sure we can follow up on the ones we can't answer during the live session. And just to be clear, we will not be discussing fees or the application process in this webinar.
Hey, thanks, Andrew. Hey, everyone. It's nice to see you today. I'm going to start by talking about our history. So over the past 10 years, the DLC's technical requirements and qualified products lists, or QPLs, have helped enable energy efficiency programs to achieve over 1,000 terawatt hours of lighting savings. This was only possible through collaboration with all of our stakeholders who support the continued evolution of high-performing, energy-efficient, non-residential LED lighting solutions. Energy efficiency programs need a trusted resource to vet lighting products that meet their customer needs. The DLC provides those resources through our qualified products lists. Manufacturers whose products are listed on our QPLs benefit from being eligible for billions of dollars of utility rebates. Nearly 700 efficiency programs in North America require DLC listing to get a rebate. Thanks to incentives, energy efficiency programs have prevented the need to build thousands of new power plants. Without these programs, customers would see their energy bills go up, and our grid infrastructure costs would also increase from upgrades needed to handle the additional load. We expect to see strong growth in connected lighting, and our new controls categories LED efficiency programs aim their incentives specifically at products with integral controls. By aligning these categories with TRM levels and streamlining verification, programs can have greater confidence in energy savings from integral controls. We've also updated our premium classification and now looks beyond efficacy and lighting quality to better support incentives for integrated controls, luminaire level lighting controls, and network lighting controls. You've asked us to broaden our technical requirements to cover new product types and new LED types, and you'll find several examples in Solid-State Lighting version 6 and LUNA version 2. And based on your feedback, we've been making the QPLs easier to use and adding tools that help energy efficiency programs quickly verify listings. Starting with the 2026 listings, you'll see new fields that line up with our updated requirements, including product images, spec sheets, control categories, field adjustability tables, and controls options tables. It's been over 5 years since the DLC released our last major SSL policy update, SSL version 5.0 and SSL version 5.1. LUNA version 1 was released almost 4 years ago. And thank you to all of you for being part of our consortium. We intentionally collaborate with all of our stakeholders, including lighting and controls manufacturers, efficiency program administrators, test labs, implementers, and users of the QPL. We appreciate each and every one of you and look forward to working with you in 2026 as products are updated to SSL V6 and LUNA V2. And we have been listening very closely to your feedback on SSL version 5.1 and LUNA version 1 since their release. We've been conducting outreach and sharing our analyses over the past few years. We started outreach on SSL version 5.2 and version 6.0 15 months ago and posted a public call for feedback on our proposed updates back in late summer 2024. That feedback informed not only the first draft of the technical requirements that we released earlier this year, it also informed our decision to include our proposals in one V6 policy rather than using a point revision and a major revision as we first intended. And after releasing the first draft in April 2025, we hosted 2 public stakeholder comment periods, one for each draft and each running 6 weeks long to make sure that every stakeholder was able to weigh in. The diamonds that you see in 2025 correspond to the relative timing of SSL V6 and LUNA V2 drafts and topic webinars we've hosted this year to provide information to you and, importantly, to get your feedback. All of that input directly shaped the new technical requirements you'll be hearing about today. During that process, we ended up dropping a few of our proposed requirements, including Buy America labeling and the requirement for premium products to exclusively include digital drivers. And we're proud to use a 6-step stakeholder input process for each of our technical requirements. We evaluate each requirement for its impact on industry, the environment, and end users. We tap market experts, including manufacturers and other industry stakeholders, to help establish verified, trustworthy requirements to keep our QPL at the forefront of sustainability and carbon reduction efforts. We use this process to craft comprehensive criteria that meets the needs of our energy efficiency program members and industry partners alike. And today, we're finally at step 5 and about to reach step 6 for SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2. Thanks to you, the response to our drafts was tremendous. We received nearly 1,500 comments from over 50 organizations across 2 comment periods, feedback from lighting and controls manufacturers, trade organizations, implementers, test labs, specifiers, and NGOs. That breadth matters. It helps us balance performance, practicality, and real-world impacts. Now combined into one policy, SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2 have 4 overarching goals. And they are to advance energy efficiency and support decarbonization through increased efficacy thresholds and controls requirements, to strengthen the SSL QPL by expanding eligibility to support sustainability, lighting innovation, and flexible installation practices, to drive adoption of controls through compatibility-based product selection by the SSL and NLC QPLs, and to mitigate light pollution by promoting responsible outdoor lighting options. Now let's look at what's next with regards to our applications timeline. As you probably know, we published our final LED technical requirements for SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2 on November 3rd. We'll begin accepting applications on January 5th, 2026 for SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2. On April 20th, 2026, we'll stop accepting SSL version 5.1 and LUNA version 1 new product applications. At that point, we'll only be accepting SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2 applications. October 9th is the last day for manufacturers and test lab to submit update applications to update their SSL version 5.1 to SSL version 6 products and LUNA version 1 to LUNA version 2 products. And finally, on December 15th, 2026, we'll be delisting SSL version 5.1 and LUNA version 1 products that have not been updated to SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2, respectively. I'm excited to share that our operations team will be hosting a webinar next Tuesday, November 18th, on the application processes for SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2. In this webinar, we'll also be covering fees. So please join us next Tuesday, November 18th at 2 p.m. for this webinar. There's a QR code to help you sign up. And now I'll turn it over to Casey.
All right, thank you, Leora. And I'll be taking the next couple slides here just to help familiarize us with this new SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2.0 document. So first of all, if you haven't seen it, or if you have, you may have some questions about it. And just to set the stage a little bit for SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2.0 and this comprehensive document. First of all, I just want to clarify, this is combining all existing SSL version 5.1 technical requirements, LUNA version 1.0 technical requirements, and all SSL technical requirements standalone policies, which covered things like warranty, lifetime, testing constraints for products that are too large to fit into an integrating sphere, and much more that have covered topic-specific or product-specific considerations for technical requirement criterion and thresholds over the years. This document can be found at the link that's right there and that Lauren just posted into the chat. Additionally, this document does supersede all of these existing requirements starting in January whenever we begin accepting and qualifying products to SSL version 6.0 and LUNA version 2.0. This is in response to feedback that we've received over the years while developing these standalone documents and policies, and how it's really been challenging to put all that information together, find it, make sure that you understand the whole suite of technical requirements, how they apply to your products, and packaging that all up to make sure you're prepared to not just test, but qualify your products to the DLC's SSL and LUNA QPLs. So now that you've had a chance to really better understand at a high level why this document is what it is today, where it came from, and what it's been informed by, let's go ahead and take a look at the structure together on the next slide. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at it, but if you haven't, do go ahead and download it from that link that Lauren shared. And right in the beginning, you'll see there are some details regarding the policy structure. Since we've been putting all of these policies together, and it's a lot of information, we wanted to make sure that it's accessible to you and that you're able to really not just have to dig through and hope you can find what you're looking for, but that the policy itself follows some logical flow and structure. So we organize it into these 8 major parts, from general information to our standard requirements, which apply to all products. And each of these major parts generally adds to and builds upon the prior part. So general information will cover things like eligibility, definitions, scope, DLC mission, things like that. Standard requirements are going to be things that apply for basically everything that you're going to want to list or consider listing on the SSL QPL Premium. Then adds on standard, LUNA adds on standard or premium respectively. Additional considerations for those other specific product types, like those that are too large to fit in an integrating sphere and how to test them. Those minimum and testing reporting requirements to make sure you're actually demonstrating compliance to these suite of requirements, whether for standard, premium, LUNA, or specific product types, and more. And hopefully, all of that's packaged up in a way that's easier for you to understand and get the information you're looking for and submit your product applications. So now that we've reviewed the document structure, let's take a quick look at some of the things that have not changed in SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2 before we get into what's changed. All right. Yes, thank you. So first of all, many of those details from standalone policies that have been reorganized into this comprehensive SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2 technical requirements policy have not changed. This includes things like our color rendition thresholds for CRI or TM30, whether they apply to indoor, outdoor, etc., and many other thresholds, and how the DLC goes about requiring testing to demonstrate compliance to those things, whether it be for standard, premium, or LUNA. The premium differentials over standard generally still exist and mimic what have been in place from version 5.1, including things like that incremental efficacy increase or that 15 lumen per watt delta over standard. Still maintains that driver lifetime threshold over standard. Eligibility details and things like that also have not changed. So hopefully most of the materials that you'll come across in SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2.0 will be familiar to you. And if of the things that have changed, we'll be covering a lot of them in today's webinar. If there are things you have questions about, definitely reach out to the team and we'll do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible regarding whether it's changed and exactly how these new or maintained requirements in SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2.0 apply to your products. So now let's go ahead and move on to topics that have changed or are completely new in SSL version 6.
Thank you very much, Casey. So we receive consistent requests for new types of products to be represented on the QPL, and it's our job to make sure that the products on the QPL represent not only what's available in the market, but also that they align with energy efficiency program needs. This can be a balancing act, but you'll see that this update includes both tweaks to existing primary use designations, PUDs for short, and entirely new classes of products. These next few slides are all excerpts from Table 1 in the document. I'm not going to review each line, but you can take a screenshot or wait for the recording and slides to be posted to take a longer look. We'll also be going into more detail about each of these changes later in the call. This first slide focuses on the changes to the outdoor PUDs. We've updated some terminology, combined some redundant types, and converted some specialty PUDs to regular PUDs. You'll notice that the most significant change here is the addition of several turtle lighting products, which we'll be going into during the LUNA portion of this presentation later. We've added a new category of products, solar-powered outdoor luminaires. There will be a full section on these solar-powered outdoor luminaires later, but some things to note are that the products in this category mirror the PUDs in the outdoor category. They also follow the same requirements, but there will be a few additional data points to report for solar PUDs that inform how these products can be used. We're also making some changes to indoor PUDs. We're converting 3 specialty indoor PUDs to regular PUDs, along with those 2 in the outdoor category. So let's talk a little more on why we're doing this conversion. The specialty designation was created to help uncommon product types receive incentives, but over the years it has caused some confusion for our members as some have been unclear on whether these products meet all DLC requirements. To answer that question, specialty PUDs must meet all performance requirements of their analogous regular PUDs except for distribution. So specialty PUDs also aren't eligible for premium. We've selected these 5 for conversion based on quantity of listings on the QPL, as well as sustained interest in listing them across updates to the SSL program. These behaviors indicated to us that these products should no longer be considered specialty. We're converting sports lighting, which was previously called sports floods, 3 types of hazardous environment products, and the indirect high bay. So now that these products are no longer specialty, they will be eligible for premium, and it will be easier for energy efficiency programs to create measures to incentivize them. The last of the new additions to PUDs are omnidirectional/directional replacements for HID lamps. We haven't removed any of the LAMP PUDs from version 5.1, but the lamps pictured here are just what we've added. The medium screw base category is entirely new, and adding this new PUD to the mogul screw base category fills in some gaps that weren't covered by the other mogul base PUDs, which are application specific, such as area and roadway, high bay, low bay, etc. Now let's take a look at a topic section that is brand new to SSL version 6, non-performance reporting. We receive a lot of feedback on how to improve the user interface of the QPL. The most frequent users are people working for efficiency programs who are reviewing incentive applications. So improving the experience of the QPL can also help to shorten the incentive application process. And there are many improvements to the QPL user interface that can be done independently, but sometimes we need to expand the requirements to get the kind of information onto the QPL that incentive application reviewers need the most. Of course, burden has to be balanced against benefit, and through many conversations with manufacturers, we've honed these non-performance reporting requirements to achieve the intended improvement for QPL users without placing undue burden on manufacturers. So we have introduced product images as an option under 5.1, and the addition was incredibly popular with QPL users. But when we proposed requiring images in version 6, we heard that manufacturers would have trouble coordinating creating the images on our timeline. The final version of the technical requirements still requires that each listing have an image associated with it, but the DLC will now provide a small sample image library for manufacturers to use if they don't have their own image. These sample images will be simple line drawings and will represent the PUD, but will not include a wide range of variations. Listings that use a sample image will also include a disclaimer that the image does not represent the actual product. And manufacturers may supply their own image at any time, and they may update those images outside of the application process. It's also an option to have one image represent an entire family instead of submitting different images for each listing. So we believe that these final requirements will limit the manufacturer burden while still improving the user experience, the QPL. We're also introducing specification sheets to the QPL in version 6. The intention here is to help incentive reviewers to quickly connect the dots between the specification sheet in the incentive application package to the listing on the QPL. There are two ways manufacturers can supply specification sheets. First, the DLC can host the document. This can be the same spec sheet submitted with the application, or it can be swapped out for a different one, provided it still meets all of the requirements. The second option is for the manufacturer to provide a link to view the spec sheet on their website. Again, this link document must meet all of the requirements, and the links will be checked intermittently by the DLC to ensure that they are still functioning. So to be clear, the spec sheet requirements do not force manufacturers to take any additional action beyond providing a spec sheet with the application, as has always been required. But they are free to update that spec sheet later if they so choose.
Thank you, Andrew. I'll now go over the new version 6 efficacy thresholds. The DLC periodically increases efficacy thresholds to support energy efficiency programs and allow them to continue to offer rebates with an increasing baseline. The version 6 standard efficacy thresholds are a weighted average of 14% higher than in version 5.1. Our thresholds are determined primarily based on efficacy statistics from version 5.1 qualified products, as well as market trends and projections. Based on feedback obtained during the drafting process, we lowered certain thresholds from their initial proposals to better meet the market where it currently is. These are the version 6 thresholds for indoor non-amber products compared to the previous version 5.1 thresholds. Each one was raised by 10 to 15 lumens per watt. For outdoor thresholds, in version 5.1, we had a single threshold at 105 lumens per watt for the entire outdoor category. In version 6, this was split into two levels depending on the primary use designation. PUDs with higher efficacy on average, such as wall-mounted and area and roadway, have a threshold of 125 lumens per watt, and lower efficacy PUDs, such as decorative and bollards, have a threshold of 115 lumens per watt. This allows us to save more energy for high efficacy PUDs while avoiding disadvantaging lower efficacy PUDs, as well as keeping complexity low. For lamps, we have introduced new bare lamp thresholds for mogul-based and medium-based general applications. For in-luminaire mogul-based products, the thresholds align with the analogous luminaire thresholds for high bay and low bay, and the lower level outdoor threshold for all outdoor general applications. The version 6 efficacy allowances for standard and premium low CCT products are more granular than in version 5.1. We're setting higher allowances for all products with a CCT of 2700K or lower, and we are now accommodating 2000K and 1800K products, which are lower efficacy on average. Other allowances for low glare and high color rendition products remain the same as in version 5.1. Finally, as with version 5.1, premium efficacy thresholds are set to 15 lumens per watt above standard across the board to differentiate a portion of the most energy efficient products.
All right, and now I'll talk about quality of light changes in SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2.0. But first and foremost, I just want to kind of cover quality of light in general, how it's generally considered for DLC technical requirement purposes. So in version 5 and version 5.1, DLC really dug deeper in quality of light and considering things that encompass characteristics of luminaire or the lighting product that include things like its spectra, its distribution, color maintenance, and getting into more application-specific considerations for things like, discomfort from glare and light pollution. DLC standard quality of light requirements are really intended to ensure that all listed products have a baseline quality of light performance, considering those specific topics that I just covered. And under the SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2.0 technical requirements revision, there are a couple more goals focused on quality of light. So let's go ahead and take a look at those goals and the high-level requirement details informing these quality of light revisions in this version of the technical requirements. So first, the goal here is laid out and was covered by Leora earlier in this slide, relating back to our major goals for this version. First and foremost, we wanted to make sure that quality of light considerations and the technical requirements continue to support lighting characteristics that improve the visual environment and help mitigate light pollution. And we've done this through a few different options or revisions, including introducing eligibility pathways for non-white light options and setting more specific maximum CCT limits for outdoor applications where appropriate. We're also looking to continue some of the things we set out to do in SSL version 5.1, where color maintenance was first introduced by allowing optional reporting of standardized color maintenance metrics. We're also following up on some of those converted specialty PUDs by establishing new distribution requirements and aligning our output and distribution requirements with market expectations for those PUDs where we've made changes to things like full cutoff. So let's go ahead and take a look at these requirements in more detail. Up first are the quality of light, non-white light options. So over the years, we received feedback that non-white light options should be eligible, and we wanted to make sure we introduced eligibility pathways with specific reporting and testing and threshold criterion for these products as appropriate. So following the updated ANSI C78377 2024 standards inclusion for the new 1800 and 2000 Kelvin CCT quadrangles, we wanted to make sure we introduced those as eligible in version 6 as well. These are generally considered non-white light, even though they are still in that same ANSI standardized quadrangle space. And these non-white light options, in addition to the amber options, which Leora will be covering in a later section of the webinar today, must report color rendition, color maintenance thresholds, or values, sorry, but no thresholds are stipulated. And additionally, these non-white light options are not eligible for premium. So we'll get into more detail on those for now, and will be covered later by Leora, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of these more specific chromaticity requirements for all standard product types in V6 on the next slide. So this is an excerpt now from table 4 of the technical requirements, and this is the DLC standard color quality chromaticity requirements. It still maintains the 7-step quadrangle CCTs below and expands the low end of the eligible CCT options for all indoor and outdoor products to be that lower 1800 Kelvin quadrangle. Again, these are not eligible for premium, and then those maximum CCT limits were established for all outdoor products, including the new omnidirectional and directional E39 and E26 lamps, with exceptions for sports lighting and fuel pump canopy, which can go up to 5700 Kelvin. Both of these changes are really intended to help mitigate light pollution in the outdoor environment. So now that we've looked at the chromaticity requirement changes in version 6, let's take a look at the color maintenance requirements. All right. So as I mentioned, in version 5 and version 5.1, DLC started looking at the quality of light, and we introduced color maintenance requirements that look at 1,000 hour and 6,000 hour color points and maintaining a specific amount of shift between those 2 points. It is a DLC custom process that generally looked to how TM35 did things at the time, but the standard wasn't out whenever we put those requirements in place. Version 6 builds on our existing color maintenance requirements by introducing optional reporting of CS4 and CS7 values per ANSI IS TM3519. These two values are basically what is the amount of time for the product to shift 4 or 7 noticeably different colors, right? This is defined in the standard, and its calculation is also defined. It relies on the exact same LM80 chromaticity data that we already require. So no new testing to get it. The one kind of caveat here is there isn't a publicly available calculator available for it today, and until there is one hosted by the IES, we will not allow optional reporting for this. Again, there will not be thresholds for this when it is included, and it will be optional to report, but as the first step for us to transition away from DLC's custom color maintenance process and requirements to this industry standardized color maintenance approach. So now let's take a look at some of the more minor changes and additions made to the light output thresholds from version 5.1. On this slide, you can see these minor adjustments and additions to our output thresholds were made. This table displays only the new or updated values. We have lowered the bottom range for products to qualify to outdoor, low output general application, and we've added minimum output thresholds for the new bare lamp general applications. And again, this is just an excerpt from tables 5 and 6. You won't find these exact details put together just like this in the document, but they are both readily available in tables 5 and 6 in part 2. So now let's take a look at the new distribution requirements for converted specialty PUDs. All right, here's a look at the new distribution requirements for the converted specialty PUDs, which can be found in table 8 in the document. I'm not going to linger here, but you can download the slides or review in more detail in the final policy and reach out for sure if you have any questions or concerns with these values or other considerations for these product types. Now let's take a look at the new distribution requirements for the zero uplight and uplight emitting wall-mounted luminaires. All right, so here's a look at the new distribution requirements for the zero uplight wall-mounted luminaire and the uplight emitting wall-mounted luminaire primary use designations, formerly known as full cutoff and semi-cutoff and non-cutoff wall-mounted area luminaires, respectively. The light distribution at and above 90 degrees is changed, and uplight is eliminated or reduced for these PUDs. And that does conclude the quality of light section. So now let's take a look at what's changed in the terms of controllability. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. For controllability, our goal is to encourage more energy efficiency programs to create more products or more incentives for products with integral controls. To get there, we've created controls categories that are powered by data collection in the controls options tables. The controls categories range from 0 to 6. Category 0 is a product with no integral controls on board. Category 1 is a product that is considered controls ready. It has a receptacle to which a control device can be added after installation. Category 2 is a product with a non-DLC listed network lighting controller on board. Category 3A is a product with an integral occupant sensor or traffic sensor function only. Category 3B is a product with an integral daylight or photocell sensor function only. Category 4A is a product with occupancy or traffic and a daylight or photocell integral sensors on board. Category 4B is a product with traffic or photocell and part night dim capabilities on board. Category 5 is a product with a DLC listed NLC QPL listed network controller. And category 6 is a product with a DLC NLC QPL listed network controller and 2 or more integral sensor functions on board, also known as luminaire level lighting control. A change in the final is that all premium products must be listed in categories 1 through 6. The format we will be collecting all of this information in is called a controls options table. Controls options tables are collected at the brand level, and each controls option code is referenced by individual products in an application. Here's a short example of what a completed table will look like. In this case, the first line, labeled blank, or the controls option code is blank. It's for a product with a 0 to 10 volt driver and no integral controls on board, and it gets assigned controls category 0. The next line with the controls option code of ABCD is a product that has a 0 to 10 volt driver, as well as a Bluetooth NLC compatible wireless network controller on board, and occupancy and daylight sensor functions, and is listed on that network is listed on the NLC QPL, and that receives a controls category 6. Just a reminder, the controls categories will be assigned for each controls option code by the DLC during the review process. The controls categories will be displayed on the QPL with model number search results. So when a user searches with a model number, we're going to pull out that controls option code and match it with the relevant controls category. And the full controls option table will be available in the product detail page on the QPL. We've also made some adjustments to field adjustable products and the information we are collecting there. We have reorganized how we collect and display field adjustable information on the QPL to better align with industry practice and better support this growing category of products. In general, we are defining field adjustable attributes as those that are changed at installation and not changed over the course of normal operation. In version 5.1, field adjustable light output was considered a type of dimming. In version 6, we are separating phalo from dimming. Manufacturers seeking phalo listings are required to report light output and wattage settings and their default shipping levels. For field adjustable light distribution products, we are collecting the type and range of the adjustment capabilities, as well as information about whether the product is aimable or levelable. We're asking manufacturers to report these default settings. And finally, we're introducing a new category called field adjustable color temperature. In version 5.1, these products were listed as white tunable, but in version 6, we are splitting them off to accentuate that field adjustable products are set at installation and not changed over the course of normal operation. This is in contrast to color tunable projects that are changed over the normal course of operation and will be discussed next.
All right, and I'll be discussing the color tunable product changes. So thank you for that segue, Jason. Yeah, and first and foremost, there are only a couple minor changes to color tunable products and policies in general. The first and more major one is the one Jason was just discussing, with splitting out that field adjustable CCT from color tunable and really focusing in on keeping the distinction between something that's installed and set at one place versus really meant to be kind of adjusted or tuned throughout the course of its life. So Along with that change, there are a couple other more minor changes on the next slide that I'll go ahead and cover. First, over the years, we have heard and seen a trend for more adjustable and more color tunable products. So that's why we have a focus on these in SSL version 6 and LUNA 2, especially whenever you consider things like RGB tunable products are considered to be capable and sometimes already there in terms of actually achieving higher luminous efficacy overall, right? At the luminaire level, the theoretical limits for RGB or color mixed LEDs is higher than for PC white LEDs. So we want to make sure that we're supporting incentives for these color tunable products and that our policy is really meeting the market for where it's at today, also, as well as considers changes to the ANSI C78 377 standard that I mentioned earlier, which introduced new non-white CCTs. So first and foremost, like I said, we added eligibility for full color tunable products. The testing and reporting requirements for these products are identical to that of white tunable under version 5.1, or now known as CCT tunable under version 6. That is really just a rename or rebrand, considering the CCT ranges that are now eligible under version 6 do not just consider white light, but also include those new non-white lower CCTs of 1800K and 2000K. So we expanded on that, updated the name, made sure that full color tunable products are eligible, but otherwise there are no changes to the testing and reporting requirements as they are today, or from what they are under version 5.1. And that does conclude the color tunable section. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next section now, which I'll also be talking through, and that is the premium requirement changes. All right, so if you're not familiar, the premium requirements are covered in part 3, and it really sets an enhanced focus on those DLC pillars related to efficacy, quality of light, and controllability. Premium builds on DLC standard requirements and set higher thresholds and performance requirements than those of DLC standard classification, really helping distinguish top performing products in terms of efficacy, quality of light, and controllability. There are other premium requirements that I will not be covering today that are maintained from the version 5.1 premium requirements, such as things like driver lifetime, the lumen maintenance differential for premium over standard, and more. And continued with our focus on premium or controllability and controlled products as a way for increased energy savings. We wanted to make sure premium is doing that. So that is our main goal, as shown on the next slide, and really speaks to kind of the focus that we're putting on premium in SSL version 6. So today, we see about half of the QPL listed as premium, even though we do already have that 15 lumen per watt delta and other suite of thresholds for premium products to be considered by. We wanted to make sure that we're building on that and really improving the value of SSL version 6 premium listings for members by enhancing its focus on controlled LED lighting solutions and these additional energy savings that you can gain from having controlled LED lights. So throughout the course of the development process, we considered things like digital drivers, like Leora mentioned earlier, and how the premium requirements interact with things like the controls categories that Jason was previously discussing. So now let's actually go ahead and take a look at the controllability requirements for premium in version 6 and what we ended up with thanks to your feedback. So again, reminder, the goal is related to achieving greater energy savings and better integration with control systems for premium in version 6 related to those enhanced controllability opportunities and energy savings needs. And it expands on the version 5.1 continuous dim requirement by making it continuously dimmable down to 10% or lower is now required for version 6. Additionally, as Jason mentioned, only controls categories 1 through 6 will be eligible. So something that would be controls category 0 or have no integral control associated with it would not be eligible. for premium. Again, there were many other things considered. We really hope and think and are actually confident that these changes right here are kind of the minimum amount of change that we can make in our technical requirements to better support programs that are transitioning their baselines to LED as a baseline, or looking to, answer questions like how can they maintain incentive opportunities for lights whenever LED is the baseline, and how can controls really help do that. So we really think premium will be an avenue for that, and these changes should really help programs in those evolving markets. All right, and that does conclude the changes to the controllability requirements for premium. So let's go ahead and move on to the next premium requirement topic, which is discomfort from glare. So in response to industry feedback on the UGR requirements established in version 5.1, in version 6.0, we're continuing to require UGR thresholds as part of the premium requirements for troffer PUDs, but we're dropping these requirements for linear ambient and high bay and low bay PUDs that are pursuing premium classification. For these product types, an application-based glare assessment is more appropriate than the tabular method that we have adopted in our technical requirements. And we will be updating our glare documentation to encourage the assessment of glare in all applications, but it is outside the scope of the luminaire evaluation method, which is what we consider in our technical requirements. All right, and yeah, so just a reminder, the other premium requirements that are not covered today, like driver lifetime, L90, et cetera, are still maintained. These are the changes that are made in addition to those. And these do conclude the changes that are made to premium. So let's go ahead and take a look now at what's going on with solar powered products.
Thank you, Casey. I'll now get into some specifics on our requirements for outdoor solar powered luminaires. Solar powered luminaires support decarbonization and energy resilience. These systems typically include three major components: a solar panel, a battery, and a luminaire, which draws power from the battery, controlled by a charge controller. To ensure that the luminaire has enough power to remain optional, many factors such as location and light level needs are taken into account when selecting and installing a product. By providing a clearer listing pathway for solar-powered luminaires on the QPL, as well as additional reported details, the DLC aims to collect and display the critical performance information needed to support system validation. In version 6, DLC qualification applies only to the luminaire component of the product. The DLC does not qualify solar panels, batteries, or any other system parts that aren't otherwise qualified under the outdoor luminaire category. All requirements for outdoor luminaires listed in other sections of these technical requirements apply to solar luminaires as well, and there is some additional reported information required for solar luminaires. If we look at this table, the configuration specifies how the product components are configured. Integrated systems typically include the solar panel, battery, and luminaire in one component, and often the solar panel is integrated into the top of the luminaire head. The split type configuration, the luminaire is installed separately from the solar panel and battery. Luminaires designed to be part of a solar luminaire system, but sold separately from other components, may indicate luminaire only as their configuration. Information about other components does not apply to these products. Grid connection specifies whether a solar luminaire is off-grid or hybrid. Off-grid products do not have any connection to the grid, eliminating the need for wired connections, reducing infrastructure costs, and supporting energy independence. Hybrid products draw power from both the solar panel and the grid, typically treating the grid as a backup in case the battery runs out. Other reported fields include battery type, PV wattage, recommended install height, battery capacity, battery lifetime, and solar panel lifetime. That concludes solar luminaires. Next, I will go over how the DLC is supporting sustainability and lighting in version 6. To help support the DLC's mission of carbon reduction and other sustainability efforts in the lighting industry, version 6 introduces an optionally reported QPL field for certification centered around sustainability. Because other sections of our technical requirements are focused primarily on impacts from the use phase of lighting products, here, sustainability refers to other stages of the product's life cycle. This could include embodied carbon, material health, recyclability, and more. Displayed here is the list of certifications we allow submitters to report to report for display on the QPL in version 6. The QPL will display only that the product has the reported certification, but will not display any documentation.
Thank you, Adrian. All right, I'm back, and I'm going to talk to you about the final technical requirements for products using amber LEDs in SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2. Three types of amber LEDs are newly eligible for SSL version 6 and LUNA version 2. Direct emission amber, or DE amber, you might know this product as narrowband amber. Phosphor converted amber, or PC amber, and filtered amber. These definitions were created by us based on prior work and were updated based on draft feedback from you. These types of LEDs can be used in both indoor and outdoor PUDs. In SSL version 6, amber products have their own efficacy thresholds that are the same across all general applications and PUDs. These thresholds were based on market assessments for each type of amber LED technology. Amber LED PUDs also have their own spectral requirements, including chromaticity information, SPDX documents and images, reporting of color rendition metrics, and reporting of color maintenance. As Casey mentioned earlier, color rendition and color maintenance metrics are reported for amber LEDs, but we're not stipulating any thresholds for them. An amber pre-submission tool will be created by the DLC and will be available to our submitters to calculate all relevant amber metrics and to create images that will be posted on the QPL for amber parent products. Finally, direct emission amber and PC amber products have their own L70 lumen maintenance thresholds, as shown here. This is adapted from table 16, and filtered amber LED products have the same lumen maintenance thresholds as other white LEDs because they use white LEDs with an amber lens or filter. Now let's look at LUNA version 2.0. LUNA is DLC's dark sky solution that supports energy efficiency programs, cities and municipalities, and other outdoor lighting decision makers looking for outdoor lighting that saves energy and also minimizes light pollution. LUNA leverages the SSL version 6 requirements to ensure that all LUNA listed products are energy efficient, high quality, and controllable. LUNA version 2 qualified products also first must meet the SSL version 6 standard or premium requirements, which are applicable based on the desired classification and LED types. So for example, amber LEDs and non-white light LEDs are not eligible for premium in version 6 and LUNA version 2. In order to better adopt and support outdoor lighting that mitigates light pollution, we have expanded the eligible product types that can qualify to LUNA version 2. Many of these new product types we have added, including those with non-white light LEDs that Casey mentioned, were informed by requests and feedback we received during our stakeholder input process. Certain lamps and retrofit kits can now qualify to LUNA version 2. In addition to their SSL version 6 requirements, which you'll find in the quality of light section that Casey mentioned, we have also added an additional cap on their maximum light output and a maximum CCT of 2700 Kelvin when qualifying to LUNA version 2. Bare lamps do not have a maximum U rating threshold like retrofit kits and luminaires do, but they do have these other maximum requirements. And since the release of LUNA version 1, we have been researching and working on non-white light metrics and have been asked to support the Hawaii Code requirements. We have also learned that we can simplify the color test requirements that we have for LUNA version 2 without reducing LUNA's rigor. As a result, our final requirements simplify and clarify our color testing procedures to minimize additional burden. We've also added new LUNA-specific lighting metrics that are calculated with the LUNA pre-submission tool. I think you see a trend here. And so this LUNA pre-submission tool uses SPDX documents to calculate many of the metrics that will be shown on the QPL related to spectrum specifically for LUNA version 2 products. These include percent blue light, SP ratio, and an image of the spectral power distribution, as well as Hawaii Code compliance. These metrics are only available for LUNA V2 listed products and add to the value of their listing. LUNA version 2 also allows certain types of turtle lighting products to be listed as well. These products must first meet our SSL V6 requirements for direct emission amber that I mentioned previously, including efficacy, minimum light output, color rendition, and color maintenance reporting, as well as lumen maintenance thresholds. And then on top of that, they must meet the LUNA version 2 requirements for shielding and testing. In addition, other turtle lighting specific requirements are stipulated by us so as not to disorient sea turtles from entering the surf at night. It's surprisingly hard to say. So table 25 contains the requirement for all 3 turtle lighting PUDs. Each has a maximum light output requirement, a maximum U0 rating, and a maximum G rating requirement to limit both uplight and high angle light. All turtle lighting PUDs, as I mentioned previously, must use direct emission amber LEDs, and no other LED type is eligible. And now I'll hand it back over to Casey.
All right, thank you, Leora. And this is the last technical topic that we'll be covering in today's webinar before doing a little recap and having a Q&A session. So make sure you've got your questions ready for the Q&A session coming up. But first, let's go ahead and cover this last topic, which is alternatively sourced equivalent LEDs and drivers. So over the years, the DLC's heard quite a bit of feedback about the one LED type and one driver type, or limited driver alternate variations, not really being the reality of how products are manufactured and sold, and really how there's more of a need for better understanding and qualification related to these alternate subcomponents that support a more resilient supply chain or address other considerations specific to that manufacturer. This has come to us over the years in terms of like requests for dual sourcing or multiple sourcing or alternate sourcing, and we ended up calling it alternatively sourced equivalent LEDs and drivers because the scope of the feedback that we've received is really focused in on LEDs and drivers and how changes to these 2 main components or subcomponents within a luminaire or lighting product impact things like DLC thresholds for lumen maintenance and driver lifetime. So we wanted to make sure that we're considering that impact, how it relates back to testing requirements, attestations, or things like that for manufacturers, whether they're doing it, and ensuring that products that are on the QPL are actually products that are on the market. So what does this look like in version 6, and what does it actually mean for the QPL? Well, exactly what I just said, right? By enabling manufacturers to report or attest whenever they do have alternate LEDs or backup LEDs or alternate drivers or backup drivers, we better understand the product design, how it's manufactured, what actually is going to get ordered or sold or show up at a customer's doorstep, and how it relates to what we qualify on the QPL, what we require in terms of worst case testing, variations, and more. So first and foremost, we did here, while we consider what to do with these alternate variations, that we should be mindful of the impact that it would potentially put on manufacturers, especially if we considered requiring additional LM79s that, for example, demonstrate equivalent performance between alternate variations. So we are still relying just on our worst case approach, and we'll rely on manufacturers first to attest whether they do have alternate LEDs or alternate drivers in their product portfolio, allowing them then to demonstrate that these subcomponents in their product designs are meeting our subcomponent requirements for things like limit maintenance, whether at the LED level, and whether it's standard or premium, and driver lifetime for premium products. So all this packaged up basically means you'll still see the same information on the QPL, but on the back end, and especially whenever it turns into something like surveillance testing of a listed product, you can feel more confident that we understand those variations that are going on, that they perform equivalently to what's qualified and what you see on the QPL, and really that what you see on the QPL is what you get. So, like I said, this does wrap up our last technical requirement for today's webinar, and I'll hand the mic back to Andrew to take us home. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, so we're going to jump into the Q&A now, but hopefully you've learned about why this update is important, how we respond to and engage with the industry, and everything that has changed and has not changed since version 5.1. So yeah, now we're going to open up some questions. And I just want to say if you aren't feeling like your question's being answered, it might be something that we're going to answer as a follow-up. So let's see, what will our first question be?
Should be assigned to you, Andrew. You should see it.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to respond to me. Technical issues with the MC here. Okay. So here's a question for clarification. Specialty PUDs like hazardous environment area luminaires will not qualify for premium, even though a efficacy requirement is given for these products. Yes, that is correct. Currently, specialty PUDs are not eligible for premium, and that's not a change from 5.1. All right, let's see if we have any more questions. Here we go. Does the daylight sensor function mandate daylight harvesting with continuous dimming, or are daylight controls that only turn the lights off or dim the light to a predetermined level when daylight exceeds a threshold also considered as daylight sensor function? Jason, can you take this one?
Yes. The short answer is daylight means dimming. Photocell means doesn't need to dim. So that's the daylight is intended more for interior applications where dimming for daylight harvesting is typically a requirement.
Second, I'm looking for my next question here. What is the difference between CCT tunable versus full color tunable? All right, can you take that, Casey?
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, so a CCT tunable product is basically going to be limited to tuning its spectra within those ANSI-defined CCT quadrangles. So that would be, potentially between 1800 Kelvin all the way up to 6500 Kelvin, and would need to meet the category or general application or primary use designation specific CCT limits to make sure that that CCT tunable product is actually eligible for that product type. Whereas full color tunable can tune outside of those CCT quadrangles. So, for example, it could use 3 LED primaries that are red, green, and blue, and mix its own spectral proportions of those to achieve a spectra that's within those CCT quadrangles where we would require testing. So testing, reporting, demonstrating compliance with thresholds, et cetera, is identical between the two product types, but really the functionality is the difference where one cannot tune outside of those CCTs and the other can.
Thank you very much. And next we've got another question for Jason on controls. Given the numerous control categories, DLC must have worked with member utilities to determine these discrete buckets of controls. Can DLC provide information back to the manufacturers as to which utilities are offering incentives for each of the different levels of controls?
The short answer is we do not have specific detailed information on the incentive programs that are offered across the country. There are third-party organizations that do that. We did develop these control categories with those utilities, and those utilities will need to update their programs to reference the controls categories, which will happen in the next year or so. But we don't have a list, and we will be following that as closely as you guys. Thanks.
Actually, Jason, I have a follow-up for you that I think might help answer the spirit of this question. Maybe you could go into a little bit more about how the categories were created based on the programs.
Yeah, so the categories are designed to align with control savings factors that are published in technical reference manuals, which are the usually state level policy that defines the energy savings measures that energy efficiency programs can incentivize. So we kind of did a survey of the TRMs across the country. Some of that information was published in a paper last spring, and then designed the controls categories to align with those different control savings factors. The idea being that we can make it very easy for a utility to say, this product is a controls category 3A, and that lines up with a savings factor of X, and we have 5,000 of them in our program this year, and this is what we saved, and this is what we paid for it. So the main thing is to kind of simplify that administrative side so that utilities will offer more incentive programs for integral controls.
Thank you. Sorry for pushing you.
No
I
problem.
think that helps them. I got a question for Leora now. For outdoor uplight emitting wall-mounted area luminaires, do we still need to report 0 to 90 efficacy or full fixture? This was originally the non-cutoff and semi-cutoff luminaires, correct?
Yes, that is a great question. So we have changed the requirements. They are now for the fixture, not just 0 to 90. And the thresholds for the uplight portion of the distribution have also changed in the final requirements based on our research and input we received in the draft process. So full fixture requirements, so you can use a tool like Photometric Toolbox is the one we mentioned in our technical requirements, or another tool if you'd like, and then meet those distribution requirements that we have in the TR. Great question.
And actually, you can stick around because we have another
Sure.
one for you, Leora.
Okay.
As important as non-white light options are for the Dark Sky initiative, should it still have premium eligibility, but just with a different performance measurements? For instance, CRI performance at low CCT might be a good way to encourage innovation in non-white light.
That is an excellent question. So the reason we have not allowed non-white light options to list to premium in version 6 is that our premium thresholds, as Adrian mentioned, in fact, our standard thresholds are based on data. We don't have data for these products. We have rated data that we use to set our thresholds, as I mentioned in this webinar and in the draft and in our topic webinar. But we don't actually have PUD data for those products with which to set premium efficacy thresholds on, or to even start to think about allowances. So I do anticipate in a future version of the technical requirements, when we have standard data that we can use, we can start to see if there's a way to carve out a premium threshold for these types of products and allow them to stand out. I think that's a great idea, but right now we are lacking data in which to do so.
Thank you. Got a new question. Why delist version 5.1 products? What if a particular utility wishes to accept them for incentives? So I think I can answer this one. Just so everyone knows, utility programs or member programs have indicated to us that they will be offering a grace period for 5.1 products. So they will still be accepting that for some period of time. It'll vary between programs. So even when products are delisted from 5.1, there'll still be a record of this, just as there is now for delisted products that people will have access to via the QPL. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see, I've got another outdoor products question. So Leora, you can come back. Do outdoor products still have 5% allowance on efficacy if CRI is above 80?
We still do have efficacy, the same efficacy allowances that we've had in the past. apply to version 6 that we're in 5.1. And we have not changed, as far as I can recall. Casey can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, those criterion, and so those thresholds apply. What has changed in terms of allowances is allowances for very low CCT and amber. Sorry, for very low CCT, and we've increased those to account for product performance that we are aware of. Yeah, so Casey, feel free to come on if you want to make a correction. Thanks.
Yeah, no correction at all. That's absolutely correct. Just wanted to add that is an editorial issue we've got. That we've got a small typo in the allowances table that we need to fix, and that'll hopefully correct that and make it more clear that it does still apply for those outdoor products. So thank you for your question.
Good point. Thanks, Casey. Still need me?
Well, I think you can answer this one, but
Okay.
if you want to stick around, the question is: will driver spec sheets be provided in addition to Luminaire spec sheets?
At this point in time, we do not have a requirement for driver spec sheets to be posted on the QPL. And if you are a manufacturer that would like to share that kind of information on your website, there is an opportunity to link to your website, and I hope that you will make use of that opportunity and that differentiation ability, but that is not a requirement that we're going to have a DLC for version 6.
Thank you, Leora. And I think
Sure.
this next one is a good one for Casey to come back for. And it's also one we've been getting through emails a lot, so it's a hot button question. Does version 6 require updated TM21 and LM80 documents? For example, the V6 appears to require LM80 21 and TM2111.
Good question. And so just to add a little bit of nuance to it, I guess, those new standard versions would be required for new applications, but products that have already been qualified and are understood to meet the new, well, those thresholds haven't changed. So they're meeting the same thresholds they've already met. They did not have to provide new data. Thank you, though. It's a good question.
Thank you. And you can stick around, actually. We have a question on the alternate components. So alternate compliance for LED/drivers. Do I have this correct, that meeting all requirements, efficacy, CCT, warranty, etc., plus LM79 is considered acceptable alternate compliance?
Yes. So the DLC's alternate LEDs and driver requirements, basically what's going to happen with that, and it should be covered more in transition and guidance information that we'll be putting out over the next couple of weeks. But the TLDR of it is manufacturers are going to attest whether they have those backup LEDs or alternate LEDs or drivers. We're still going to rely on our worst case testing methodology, which is they consider all of their variations that they design or manufacture that product to. And the worst performing one for whichever metric we're talking about will need to be tested. So if they look at all their LED options, all their driver options, we're still going to require the same amount of test reports, but whichever option translates specifically to worst case efficacy or worst case color rendition or whichever metric you want to point to in our technical requirements will need to be the variation that's tested. So it won't need to be like, version A and version B then get compared and we have two LM79 tests that actually, tie Luminaire level product performance being identical to each other. But manufacturers are going to test when they have those alternate LEDs or drivers. They're going to make sure they're testing those worst case variations like they have been over the in existence of the DLC. That way we're not increasing the testing burden on manufacturers and that expense that adds in. We're getting more manufacturers to report whenever they do have it. But then whenever they do have an additional LED or additional driver in their product, they're going to provide those subcomponent lifetime test data. So for things like the LED, it would be that LM80 data on those alternate LED variations that then demonstrate that it does meet that lumen maintenance requirement at the subcomponent level. And we already understood that efficacy or things like that would only be improved based on our worst case variation testing requirement approach. So hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, definitely follow up and I'm happy to have a conversation on it.
Appreciate that, Casey. And I've got a question for Jason. In the controls ready receptacle table, what does others type include? Is 2.5 millimeter sensor socket acceptable as controls ready?
So that other type is for receptacle types that are not based on a published standard. So if that's something that a specific manufacturer makes and sells products that goes in that, then that's great. A 2.5 millimeter photon jack only has 2 conductors. It's a tip and a sleeve. If it is possible to do dimming functionality with just those 2 conductors, then that could probably qualify. But if not, if that product is not able to dim the luminaire, then that controls ready option would not qualify.
Thank you. Right, we have another one. It's on light output. It's pretty nuanced. So let's see if we can answer this one on our feet. So for the 500 lumen per foot minimum output requirement for linear ambient luminaires with an indirect component, does that still apply when there is a direct component that meets the 375 lumen per foot minimum light output requirement? So actually, I'm not sure who I can throw that one to, who I want to put on the spot. Does anyone feel like taking that? This might be a question we answer offline. It seems like it's a nuanced one, so we'll come back to this. Will products currently on the QPL that meet the new requirements be rolled over to the new QPL? So this is a question about the transition and applications process. So I'm going to direct this question to the applications webinar that we're hosting next week on November 18th. So we'll share that QR code again before the end of the call, and you can register for that. All right, is your team planning on adding categories such as flush mount, low bays, can downlights, and vanity fixtures due to Energy Star going away? So actually, we had proposed adding some Energy Star products such as downlights to this, and this was we got a lot of feedback on that. This was in reaction to changing political conditions. We were concerned that Energy Star might go away. But as of now, Energy Star is still being updated. We're monitoring the situation, so we don't want to duplicate that in the marketplace. We're not going to have 2 areas where downlights are. As for your questions on the other fixtures, we don't have any plans yet to add eligibility to the technical requirements other than what we have published here in version 6. All right, here's a lumen maintenance question. Did I understand correctly that amber LED requires L70 36,000 and a 5-year warranty on the product?
Yes, that's correct. For direct emission amber and PC amber LEDs, our L70 requirement is 36,000 hours using LM80 data and TM21 predictions. And this is based on performance data that we were able to access thanks to the generosity of chip manufacturers that share that kind of information with us and threshold that we're comfortable with. So yes, that's correct.
Great, and we have another amber question.
Okay.
For the LUNA requirement that requires PC or DE amber LEDs, would an optical filter be acceptable if it results in similar wavelength distributions as the LEDs?
That's when you would want to use a filtered amber LED. And I would recommend that you examine that category because filtered amber LEDs are allowed for many PUDs. And so if you're going to use an optical filter to get there with a white LED, that is the pathway that we have allocated specifically for that use case. So if there's any questions about that, you can email us and we'd be happy to discuss. If it's future capabilities we have to think about for a point revision, we can certainly do that. But I believe we have provided a pretty reasonable way to allow those products to be used, not just for LUNA, but also for SSL V6 if you'd like to use filtered amber LEDs. The only PUD that filtered amber LEDs cannot be used for is for turtle lighting. And PC amber LEDs cannot be used for that either, only direct emission amber LEDs.
Thank you, Leora. And I've got a lighting quality question for Casey.
Okay.
Can the CCT and DUV of color tunable products and FACT products exceed the rated CCT's quadrangles?
Good question. Yes and no, right? So really only full color tunable products can exceed the CCT quadrangles with which they're applying for. So say if a given PUD is only eligible between 1800K and 5000K, like many outdoor primary use designations, a tunable product that say tunes up above 5000K, say to 5700K in that application, would not be eligible. A product that tunes within those eligible CCTs, whether it's some subset of the range or the full range of eligible CCTs, would be expected to emit spectra for the CCTs that it claims, right? So if it's reporting that it can tune between 1800K and 3000K, we are going to require testing at the minimum, maximum, and some mid or intermediate CCT. And that 1800K, that 3000K, 2 test points, for example, would need to have measured chromaticity coordinates that fall within those 2 quadrangles, respectively, or any CCT that it would report. Only full color tunable products would be eligible and allowed to tune outside of a CCT quadrangle.
Thanks. And yeah, I think the question was phrased color tunable product and FACT product, but I think you're drawing that there's a distinction in the technical requirements of CCT tunable and full color tunable. So just be sure to pay attention to the nuances between those because they do have different requirements applied to them.
Right. Yeah, and the field adjustable is treated the same way as color tunable in terms of testing and performance, demonstrating compliance with those performance requirements. So whatever CCT you're saying it is what we expect it to be when it's tested.
All right, and you can stick around. I got another alternative components question. Are there any safety certificate guidelines to consider for those alternative components?
Good question. Basically, the short answer is all variations, regardless of what options you're saying happen at the LED or driver level, have to be covered by a safety certification. So whether you've got whatever type of certificate of safety you have, it will need to cover the full suite of product variations that you're listing. We understand that sometimes you may have various or multiple safety certification or safety documents that cover different pieces of products within the same family or things like that. So short answer is yes, but it's a bit flexible.
Thank you. And I have a question I think Leora can take. What's the difference between directional and omnidirectional lamps in DLC? Just like the definition in Energy Star?
No, it's not exactly the definition in Energy Star. Omnidirectional lamps are lamps that essentially produce sort of a toroidal distribution, sort of a pumpkin shape of light. You might see that with a corn cob type of lamp, where all of the LEDs are sort of uniformly around a cylinder, whereas a directional LED will be something like shaped like a paddle or a hairbrush, or it's potentially a omnidirectional LED that has field adjustability, where each of those sort of panels can come down and tilt outward to make the lamp directional. And so that's the difference between those two. One puts out light in sort of a toroidal or a diffuse Lambertian distribution. The other one has directionality to it based on the structure and positionality of the LEDs.
Thank you.
And we see those terms used by manufacturers in spec sheets. So we sort of looked, when we were doing our market research, we looked at the terminology and optionality, if you will, of those products as they come to market, and based our thresholds based on rated market performance.
Thank you, Leora. I think we have time for one more question. We're almost at the end of the call. So we have a question: how will these updates affect lead times or pricing from manufacturers adapting to the new requirements? So we can't answer that specifically and speak on behalf of manufacturers, but as you saw earlier in the call, we have been communicating since 2024 with manufacturers about these changes, engaging with them directly, and the goal with all those conversations was to make sure that they could adapt to these updates in a reasonable time frame. So I can't speak to pricing, but we've done a lot of work to make sure that there's transparency and cooperation between us and the manufacturers. So if your question didn't get answered, don't worry, we will follow up after this call. We're going to bring it to a close now. I wanted to bring up the timeline one last time to take a look at what the transition process is going to look like. So here we are, November 3rd, sorry, November 12th, and November 3rd was the release. And we're going to start accepting applications for version 6 on January 5th. April 20th of 2026 will be the day we stop accepting the applications to version 5.1. And then October 9th will be the last date to submit the update applications to version 6 and version 2. And finally, on December 15th, 2026, is when the delisting will happen for any products that have not applied to update to the new requirements. So you'll find out more about how this process will work next week in our webinar. So there is the QR code. I'll leave that up for another few seconds. But we want to thank you all for attending this webinar. Like I said, it will be online later this week. So here's how you can navigate it to it on our website. Go to the News and Events tab, and then look for the on-demand/past events. And you'll find this recording along with the slides. So thank you very much for being here, and please let us know if you have any further questions.